And you're listening to Live from the Path. We're coming from the Pathway Studios here in Johnston proper. It's good to be with you. Okay, Mike's my transition man, and he's still out of the country. Nathaniel, that was you. You're supposed to jump in and provide some kind of sweetness.
I hit you with a heck yeah. I did too slow, though.
Okay, that's good enough. All right, here's what we got going on the show this evening. So Dan has spent the last, what do we say, is it 2 weeks?
It was 2 weeks. I mean, plus including travel.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so 2 weeks in Zimbabwe. And so, boy, I remember scrolling through ye old Facebook, and, boy, it just looks like some really cool things were happening. So we're going to catch up with Dan and see how the old Zimbabwe trip went. And then we'll be catching up next week with Mike. He's on his way back from Ethiopia. Actually, he's on a plane right now on his way back from Ethiopia.
Nice.
And so Nathaniel and I stopped at the gas station on the way. That's as far as we got.
Did you get a Milky Way bar?
I did not. I got a decaf coffee. That doesn't feel like it's living on the wild side like you guys did.
Wow.
I got the Casey's only Mountain Dew flavor.
Okay, but it was a refill. You brought in your own cup.
I brought
that is also not living on the wild side.
Wait, Casey has their own flavored pop?
Yeah. Well, I think they did like a brand deal with Mountain Dew, and Mountain Dew made them a flavor.
Yeah, they have their own flavor.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
I feel like I should start drinking pop.
Okay, so Nathaniel, quick, what was it? Delicious or not delicious?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
It's pretty awesome. Like worth a go. You try it once.
Yeah.
Okay, I like it. All right. Let's and then we'll do some advice. I think we'll just do that, and we'll do some advice. I was looking through a few articles, and like, boy, I'm just not impressed. There's a guy that wrote. This is from the Christian Post, and he's like, "Dear Ric Flair." Like when I say Ric Flair, does this guy cross your mind? Do you know what we're talking about?
No.
Like the WWE guy?
Yeah.
WWF?
Oh.
Yeah, like he's an old school wrestler, like the guy who go woo.
Oh yeah.
Big old white hair, wears a big fancy robe.
Nice.
And like, I'm not sure what spawned this guy, but like the title of the article is "A Message from God to Ric Flair."
Huh.
And I thought, well, I mean, is he dead? He's not dead. And like, doesn't this feel like clickbait? Like this is the equivalent of Christian clickbait.
Yeah. He's not even relevant anymore.
That's what I was wondering. Yeah, it's like it's so there's all
it's
kinds
like
of
the
things.
exact same thing. Like you will believe what this celebrity looks like now.
Right.
You know what God was saying to Sonny and Cher?
A message from God to Spiro Agnew. Like, why? Anyway, I thought, I stopped reading. I quit. I said, I don't want any articles on this site anymore if this is the kind of thing that we're going to do. It was an opinion piece, but it's in the same realm as like every time something big happens in the news, somebody's like, I heard from the Lord, and I'm going to tell you the same thing I would have said last week on my radio program. I'm just going to say it in a message to you as an article. Anyway, so I don't...
Why was it... I guess you didn't finish the article.
No,
why was it to Ric Flair? Like, what did it have anything to do with him?
So it didn't even say... Okay, well, here's what we're going to do it.
We have to.
Okay. Dear Rick, with no K.
Dear Rick.
If you get this message, that should be a sign that God has something really important to say to you. After all, you don't know me from Adam, and there are millions of articles on the internet. The fact that you're reading this article is an answer to prayer. This is very arrogant.
But I say, it could be he just assumes the guy's like, oh, wonder if they're talking about me today.
Yeah, right.
I'll Google my name.
Well, I'll be doggone. God's trying to get a hold of me. But before I share God's message to you, let me speak to you from my own heart for a moment. Oh, boy. You have obviously lived an amazing life, one with incredible triumphs and incredible agony. You have been a remarkable performer, arguably the greatest professional wrestler of all time. Wow. And the fact that you're getting in the ring again at 73 years old is Okay, that must be it. It's spawning the return of 73-year-old Ric Flair.
Ric Flair.
Woo!
Man.
At work, after they're done doing their stretches and stuff, they said, let's get 2 claps and a Ric Flair, and everybody does, woo!
No kidding.
Yeah.
2 claps and a Ric Flair.
Yeah.
Here's the deal. I hate your work environment, but that sounds awesome.
I hate it as well. And the 2 claps and the Ric Flair make me hate it more.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't bump you up a little?
No.
Oh,
wow. I've never in my life actually sat down and watched wrestling for more than like 4 minutes.
No kidding, Dan?
No.
Like even when you was a youngster?
No.
No kidding. Wow.
I just was like, no.
There was some greasy men's in there wrestling about, Dan, and you didn't say, that's for me?
I had things to do.
I used to tune in every Friday night for SmackDown.
No kidding.
Yeah.
You were all in.
I was in. I loved it.
Did you ever go to one live?
No, well, funny thing is, my parents didn't really care for me watching wrestling
Yep.
very much. They
Yep.
didn't like the violence of it. And so when I was, I don't know, 8th grade, I had a pal who had box seats at Wells Fargo to go see WrestleMania or whatever down at Wells Fargo.
That's serious.
And and he said, "Hey, you want to come with?" And I said, "That would be sweet." But then I would have to fess up to my mom, say, "Hey, I've been watching, I've been watching wrestling. I'm really into it. Can I go with this friend?" And so I didn't do it.
Oh, you said it's too much to overcome.
It's too much.
I'm not gonna do it.
I must keep my secret.
I did. I kept it.
Now wait, Nathaniel, I seem to recall a recent show where I'm like, I asked, are you a secret keeper, or like, do you have any kind of secrets? And I think you said no.
I don't know.
But you've been holding on to this wrestling business for quite a while.
Yeah. Well, let me just come out right now. Look right into the camera. Shelley Carson. I love wrestling.
Wow.
Do you still love it?
I haven't watched it in many moons, but I think I could probably get back into it.
You say it's quick. It's like riding a bike.
Yeah.
Now, would you be embarrassed if you were watching wrestling and your wife came in and caught you watching wrestling?
No. In fact, I've told my wife that wrestling is my love language.
Like wink, wink wrestling?
No,
or like
no.
straight up wrestling?
No, like actually,
I think
like
I better stop right here.
no, no.
Welcome back from Zimbabwe, Dan.
No winks about it.
Okay.
Just wrestling.
Okay. I mean, you could do the wink, wink. That is your wife.
That's true.
You
but
might say, "I'll take both" or something. Okay.
Then you say, "Woo!"
You have to do the 2 claps though. 2 claps in the woo and a Ric Flair. Okay, you get back to me. I don't want all the details, but just tell me how the last part went. Okay. All right. You've cheated death over and over. You've survived a plane crash and a broken back, and you've consumed enough liquor to sink a ship. Really, quite a few ships, and yet you're still here. You've entertained millions. You've been featured in viral hip-hop videos, and everyone knows your signature woo. This is so lame. You've also found your own son dead of a drug. Oh shoot, took a turn. dead of a drug overdose. I cannot imagine the pain. The question is, why are you still here? Why did you come back from the dead several times? Is it so you could perform in the ring one more time? I recently read that 5 years ago you were on life support for 2 weeks and intensive care for 1 month. You were given a 15% chance of survival, but here you are, not just alive but ready to wrestle again. Why? You said to ESPN, "God gave me a gift. I almost feel like he wants me to do this last match. Why bring me back from so much?" I can answer that question for you. God brought you back from so much and kept you alive because he wants to bring you to himself. He's giving you a chance to repent, meaning to turn your life around with his help and to come to know him personally. Now, wait a minute. How do we know that he's not a Jesus man? You think he's just facetiously saying, "God gave me a gift. I feel like he wants me to wrestle at 73"?
Seems a little judgmental there.
Yeah. But I'll tell you, God didn't bring you back for this match, but he said you should repent because you are not a Jesus man. I mean, I guess I don't know. Maybe there's other indications that it sounds like he might have struggled earlier in life.
I mean, yeah.
But anyway, he says, in Bible, Paul put it like this: "Don't you see how wonderfully kind, tolerant, and patient God is with you? Does this mean nothing to you? Can't you see that his kindness is intended to turn you from your sin?" Do you feel the weight of those words, Ric Flair? You haven't received what you deserved. The Lord's been very kind to you, but it's for a purpose, : His kindness is intended to bring you to repentance, to bring you to a brand new life. The same Bible says that all of us have sinned and fallen short of God's standards and the penalty. Okay, we got that part. Would you agree that you have fallen short too? Back in the 1970s, Billy Graham appeared on the Johnny Carson show. If my memory serves me correctly, Carson said something like, "Reverend Graham, I'm ashamed to say that I can't remember all of the 10 Commandments." Graham replied, "Yes, but you've broken all of them." Here's the deal. I do like Billy Graham. I find some of his kids annoying, but I'll tell you this. I find Billy Graham a winsome character.
Yeah.
I feel like he's just got away with people. And like he gets gets away aren't the words that I'm looking for, but like Billy Graham was able to do things in such a way that if some other guy tried to do them today, you'd be like, okay, stop.
Right.
Like this is shallow. This is for your own kingdom. I don't like any of this. But like Billy Graham was the first. He's not the first guy, right? But like he was very successful at it at kind of the turn of how in our day and age you might think about using entertainment or like big crowds and things like that. So it's
Yeah.
slightly different than the other revivals and things that were happening before him, But he just did it in such a way that it didn't feel so skeezy, and I don't know why. Maybe I just got a soft spot for the band. I don't know.
Yeah, and I've always agreed. I mean, because then if I wouldn't do some of the things he did, I mean, I know his heart was right and he meant right.
Mm-hmm.
Like the invitation time, he'd already have hundreds of people coming down, but they were like the workers. But people assumed, oh, they're making decisions. I better go too.
Right,
It's
right.
like that's kind of manipulative.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, anyway, yeah. So,
Right.
but I agree with you. I mean, the guy just seems he's in a different level. He's
Yeah, and it happened and seemed to do it in such a way that he's everybody's more complicated than you want it to be, right? Maybe he's the guy who still lived in the $90,000 house and never moved from it. That's awesome, but it does feel like there's a bit of a manipulation in the people moving forward, and he probably wouldn't explain it that way. He said, "Look, people are afraid, and so if other people moving forward gets them to say something that they wanted to do but were too scared. If that was the thing holding them back, then we made it easy for them to do it." I'm like, "Well, man, okay, I don't know." Anyway, I don't know. Billy Graham seems to get away with things that, at least in my mind, that other people can't. Anyway, could the same be said about you? What about you shall not commit adultery? How have you managed with that one? Okay, yeah, this guy's really got away with people. To repeat, all of us have sinned and violated God's commands, and all of us deserve death in this world and the world to come, but it's not the end of the story. Rather than condemn us all to hell, God sent his son. I don't want to say blah, blah, blah over this part, but he's really putting me in a pickle. He sent his son Jesus to die in our place. Can you imagine a love that great? We sinned, and Jesus, who was perfect and innocent, died for our sins. That's what we call grace. Amazing grace. This is not a myth, Rick, or just some religious story. It's the absolute God's honest truth. Okay, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to see if he comes. In 1970, okay, no, that's blah, blah, blah. That's his return. Millions of people around the world love you. This is the end. Run you and admire you. I'm sure many of them have been praying for you, too. So what will it be, Rick? This is God's message to you.
Woo!
Woo-hoo. I don't. It's not like what he said was untrue.
right.
It feels like it's not for Ric Flair.
Yeah.
I'll put it that way. You tell me you don't know how to get a hold of Ric Flair. He's at 73 years old. He's a bit of a has-been. You tell me you don't you want to invite him on your podcast or send him a letter. He gonna get it. And he's probably going to read it personally. All the people that might have read it for him 20 years ago ain't around anymore.
Right.
He's going to read it. And so send the man a note if you want to. This is posturing. And I don't know, even if he said, here's an example of what I might say to Ric Flair, so that you people can figure here's what it looks like to share the gospel within the context of everyone we may agree that we know, and so you can see how it might relate to them. Okay, maybe. But this just felt arrogant to me. Maybe that's wrong. I don't know, but I don't like it. Nathaniel, have you ever written a letter to, trying to convince, written, it doesn't have to be a letter and email, trying to convince someone to love and follow Jesus?
No.
No. Dan, have you done that?
I don't think so. Not especially a public letter.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
certainly.
Yeah. Let me write a letter to the editor here, just in case Samantha's listening.
That's right. Samantha needs Jesus. For all the rest of you guys, be praying forcefully.
Tune in.
Okay. Let's talk Zimbabwe. So Dan, you've been. Let's reset the scene.
Yeah.
How did you get hooked up with trips with the mission work in Zimbabwe?
Okay. Yeah. It all started. I'm part of a preacher group and on Facebook. And several years ago, a guy threw out there, hey, we got this new scholarship we have a Bible college in Africa, in Zimbabwe. For $100, you can pay for an African Bible college student's room and board and tuition. And, he just threw it out there to the group. And I read that and thought, man, that sounds fascinating to me. Somewhere along there, in the previous few years prior to that, I'd read and heard and people discuss that God's really doing something in Africa. They really believe the future of the Holy Spirit moving, conferences I've been to, that how God has blessed certain places for a while, then they screw up, like America. Obviously we're still here and we have Jesus and everything, but the real happening stuff's starting to move to Africa.
Yep.
And I thought, wow, that's really exciting. I don't want to go to Africa, right? I mean, I don't. It's like I don't want to be a missionary. Like that's not my thing.
Yep.
I thought, but man, I have $100, and if I can help someone who already knows the culture, who already knows the language, who just wants to share Jesus, that sounds way more effective than me going over there.
Yep.
And so I started doing that.
Yep.
And then a few months later, I met this guy at a conference, a missions conference, and he's like the director of Hippo Valley Christian Mission in Zimbabwe. And we're talking, and he says, "Hey, man, yeah, just come to Africa sometime." And I'm like, "Oh, I don't, that's why I'm doing this scholarship thing." And he goes, "Not just come. It's, what, come on, we got a group going in 6 months. Just jump on that team." And I'm thinking, okay, I mean, like, it'd be cool to have the church doing some missions. I thought, so my daughter Shanna and we jumped on board, and we thought, okay, if I want to do it, I'm going to observe with someone else before I like take someone somewhere.
Yep.
And absolutely 100% fell in love with the people there when we got there. I mean, it was nothing like I expected. I think I watched like too many Tarzan movies or something. I thought even just the geography. I mean, everything. Just the.
Yeah.
I just figured it was gonna be all jungle or something. And it's like, I don't know that. Yeah, no,
Right,
it's not.
right.
At least not where we are working. And yeah, fell in love with it, and then we started going, and now we go every year. We take a team every year,
Yep.
and we have relationships there, different pastors, different people within the organization at Hippo Valley, teachers. They have schools and churches and clinics and things like that, health clinics.
Yep.
And so we go back, we do revivals. A lot of the things that worked really well here in the 70s and 80s in America work really well there now, like the old-fashioned revivals and that type of thing. So we go do VBS and revivals, and people come out of the woodwork by the hundreds.
Why do you think that is? Like, why? Like, I don't know if that's if maybe it's easier to explain it like our culture's response to those things or their culture's response to those things. But why does it feel like those types of things work?
Well, partly because we're there, to be honest. Zimbabwe was under British rule until, was it the 80s, 70s, 80s, when they had their big war. And since that time, there's been less and less white people there. And so there's a whole generation of people that like have never seen white people, especially when we go out into the rural areas.
Oh, yeah.
And so we got a group of white people show up. They're curious. The kids, they want to feel your skin and see if are we leather? Are we sick? They don't know what's wrong with us. We just look goofy.
Right.
And so some people come just because of that. It's extremely poverty ridden place. And so some people come because they know we have things. We have food. We'll feed people.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and have gifts and stuff.
Yep.
And some people just not in a like, I want to get wealthy thing, but in a, man, I sure would like to eat. That'd be cool.
Right.
We've had some people, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago, and they were, we talked to them afterwards, and they were like, they hadn't had protein in like 2 months.
Oh, man.
And we had like chicken. We bought a bunch of chickens that day, and so there's multiple things like that. And there's a church network there, so they get all excited because they know we're coming. So they rile people up, and then they tell them things are coming, and people see us walking through town, and it attracts crowds
like a beacon of whiteness.
It is. It's really bizarre. We'll drive by a school if they're out for recess, and I'll just wave out the door of the car, and they'll come screaming, running to the fence.
Huh.
Like, oh,
right.
I don't know what they expect, but it is kind of rock star type of thing. And so we figured, well, if we're the gimmick, so to speak, if people want to see us, we're the sideshow, we're the circus show, and they get to hear the gospel. Maybe that's what the Billy Graham stuff, then okay, that's cool. I don't mind. So that's how we got going. It was totally by accident. It was not a goal. It wasn't like, hey, I wanted to go on mission trips to every single continent. I have no desire to do that.
Right.
I know a lot of people do mission trips because they just want to have bucket lists,
Yep.
and they want to just go visit the world. And I think, you're doing that. I just don't feel good about that.
Yep.
And so I'm just big. We have one place. We're focused there. We have relationships. We're building depth every year. We go back. We build more depth, and God's going to keep me going as long as I can. I don't know how long I can go.
Yeah.
But, I hope I have several good years left of me for that.
And would you say that there is something about, because I think one of the risks, and I believe we've talked about this before, and maybe even after either Mike or I came back from Ethiopia or you were back from Zimbabwe, is that like, I think there's a hesitation in what you were getting at just a minute ago, what feels like mission tourism. Like, let's take the youth group. They're going to wander around just outside in some safe area outside Mexico City and help.
We're going to zip line.
Yeah, and serve a meal and then go back and say, "Oh, well, we got to see it." And that something feels icky about that.
Yeah, you get to pat yourself on the back. I've really served the world, and
and these things aren't cheap either. Like you're having to raise money to fly out there, and there's expenses, to get in and out of the country and all that stuff. And so like, there's something about what you were talking about, which is like the scholarship that helps fund people in their own places to do those types of things. But would you also say, like, it does sound like there is still something that we are contributing. It's not just taking from a culture to come and observe it. There's something about someone from outside that culture that helps provide energy and I don't know, maybe even appreciation for people who are doing the work, to have someone that comes in from outside. Like, would you feel like there is a value that is still in that?
Yeah,
for coming.
100%. There really is. It's convinced me, especially as I keep going back. We did a number of revivals this time and vacation Bible schools simultaneously. And at the end of one of the revivals, there was an older lady who stood up at the end and thanked us for coming and talked about how valuable it was, because there was some 30 years earlier she had made a decision at a similar type of revival. Some missionaries had come and she made a decision then, and there she still was, very highly involved and in leadership even in her church, and she did some of the singing and stuff. And she said, this is so important. And we had a ton of people that accepted Christ while we were there. Baptisms going on and people repenting of sin and it was just an amazing time, and a lot of that was because we were there. It does provide the energy, and it's the old thing, we've come more than 75 miles, so we're experts.
Right.
It was Peter pastors would come up and ask me questions about, we did a little Q&A time at one point. And I'm like, I'm just, Dorky Dan. Nobody here cares what I think.
You might know me as Deuteronomy Dan.
Exactly. But there we did street evangelism one day, which is like totally I did it in the 80s here. I mean, would you go to just doors and knock on the door and say, hey, can I tell you about Jesus?
Yeah.
Over by the fairgrounds in Des Moines, Iowa, our little church there, we were going around neighborhoods. My wife and I did that, but so I haven't done that for 40 years or however long. And they say, okay, we're going to not have a session. We're just going to go out to the neighborhoods. Like, well, okay, cool. And it was that was fascinating. That culture is so much different than ours.
Yeah.
We had a little group of people, and there was a couple of the pastors and me and some other people, and like they'd walked up to a construction site. They're building a house and they're laying the brick, and he goes, I'd like to tell you about Jesus, and like the whole crew stops, and they start listening, and the guy pulls out a Bible and he starts preaching to them. And I'm going like this like, and they're listening like,
this works nowhere here. There's
exactly.
no way.
Exactly. And they're talking. They speak Shona there, and so I don't know what they're saying or anything. And one of the guys would every once in a while whisper to me. He said blah blah blah. But we were just on the side. And it just blew me away. And then they just go into people's backyards and, hey, can we tell you about Jesus? Well, you sure? They were sitting on their little blanket in the backyard, and then the kids would come around. And we had a bunch of those conversations. Well, then one of the guys were like, why don't you do one? And I said, here's the deal. I'm more than happy to. I'll have conversation. I said, but you guys, this is your world.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm here, and they're going to see me, and I'm doing my thing. But you know what to say. You know where they're at. I whatever I said made more sense than what I'm saying now. But and he looked at me and said, but you're the teacher. And I thought, wow. I mean, it was like, you guys are the teachers too.
Yeah, right, right. You're doing
you're
it
the
right
teacher
now.
Here, I'm the visitor.
Yeah.
So I did some stuff, but it's weird to be looked at that way. So even within their leadership, they looked at us like, oh, wow, they're missionaries from
Yep.
the States, and so it adds a little bit of, I don't know, credibility to what they're doing
Yep.
and saying.
Yep.
And some of those people we talked to came to the revival.
Nice.
Later.
I would be. Did you have any concern, like just doing street evangelism, or just kind of being around that like the things that you're teaching would be received like oddly in the culture in a way that you wouldn't have anticipated? Like I would just thinking about stuff that we might touch on in a given Sunday, what I would teach around here, and you're talking about a persecution, or like maybe you're hammering home on certain things because you're like, well, our culture struggles with that. Like, was there anything in your mind where you thought, like, I wonder if this is actually the weight that I might give it, or the way I might talk about it would be foreign to them?
I mean, yeah, they have different issues. They have witch doctors. They have ancestral worship. They have.
And we largely skip those. We're like, okay, no one's doing witchcraft here.
Yeah. It's like I don't even know how to address that. Like,
right.
Like, stop raping 3-month-old women because you think you're going to be cured of AIDS.
Right.
It's like that doesn't. But I don't have that filter here. I don't think of things like that.
Right.
So that's why I told them, I said, I really think it's better if you guys do the talking. I'm the speaker. Tell them, hey, come and hear the American speak.
Yep.
I'll be that. But I just think it's more valuable, more effective if you do. And I probably disappointed them. And like I said, through some few things. And we had one of our team members was with another group, and he did all kinds of talking to people.
Oh, nice.
And I thought, well, that's cool. But also, I don't know that anybody like suddenly jumped on their knees and repented. And
right.
So he was bold. That's impressive. Was it effective? I don't know.
Yeah.
They were by some type of drinking establishment. I don't know if they call it a bar or something there, but there were some people drinking, and it was pretty hot out that day. And he's like, hey, I'll buy everybody a soda. You guys want a soda? Sure. So I took the team over and bought him a soda. And there was a guy there who says, buy me a beer. And my guy's like, well, I can't. It was kind of like a Peter, on walking away from the temple that day. It was like, well, I don't have money for beer, but I can give you Jesus,
Yeah.
So, like, okay, that's really clever. I don't know.
I was kind of thinking he'd offer a bargain. I say, I'll buy you a beer if you'll listen to me talk for about 5 minutes.
Oh.
Would deal?
but see, they listened anyway.
All right.
I mean,
save the beer.
Yeah. It's like, it was cool. It was cool that was a very foreign thing. Even though I've done it here, but it's been so long.
Yeah.
It was hard to get over my own thoughts of the reactions that people would have here. I mean, you just go ahead and try to go to a construction site here and say, "Hey guys, fellas, I get you to stop for a few minutes, and I would like to preach to you."
That's right. Gosh,
I could just imagine the words I'd hear that my poor ears had never heard before.
Which is, what's so interesting though is it does mean that if you think about our own context, is that we are uniquely being from America. You are attuned to what Americans will tolerate.
Mm-hmm.
And like, you could send one of them poor fellas from Zimbabwe over to a construction site here, and like, they're gonna, I don't think we're just gonna be gracious just because it's a foreigner. Like, in fact, it depends on where you're at, but it might go very poorly. And so like, the notion of what maybe we would need, the skills you need to have to try to reach an American culture are slightly different. Like the Americans are they're past it. They don't. They feel like you're trying to sell them anything, and they're out. And so, like, the amount of I'm thinking about, even from an apologetics standpoint, the types of things that you would feel like you have to defend apologetically about Scripture, about God, about whatever in our culture are probably not the same things that people are struggling with in Zimbabwe. They're not arguing as to whether, like, we're still arguing whether there's even any spirituality anywhere, whether God is even real, whether spirits are real. And they're like, oh, heck yeah, they're real. As a matter of fact, that one, took over my cousin and caused them to burn him.
Right.
And so you tell me how Jesus. You tell me how Jesus solves that. Like, that's a way different conversation that we're having here.
Yeah.
Which is, Nathaniel, you are suited for evangelism in the American context.
It's true.
It's time to get on board and do it. That poor Zimbabwe. In fact, actually, I would be encouraged if one of those guys came over here, and I would. First of all, I'm taken in by accents. You find me a British man, I assume he's smarter than me. But like, listen, remember, because Zebedee was here, so he came on the show and we talked to him, and it was super encouraging to listen to him. And like, a guy like that, not only is he like he's full of wisdom anyway, because he's just been doing that for a long time, but like, it feels like he's battle worn.
Yeah.
And from doing work in that culture, which may not actually translate to what you would do in America, but it's encouraging to see, because you know that where God has people doing work for Jesus here, he's got the other parts of the world covered too. And
Right.
it is encouraging to listen to a man look at the world with what are probably his normal eyes, but feel like fresh eyes to me.
Yeah.
Because he sees a different world, and some of it'll translate, and some of it won't necessarily. But it is encouraging for that.
I always have people worried that I'm going to like stay there sometime or move there sometime. You're going to retire and go there someday. I would not be nearly as effective if I lived there,
Right.
as if I play the role that I do, go for a couple weeks. But I don't know that I'm all that effective here, but at least I know how to do church work.
Right.
I know how to make the organization, function, and the organization is reaching people.
Yep.
But here,
Yeah, which is different than like, I don't know, hey, I want to move to Brazil, and I'm just going to call myself a missionary because, I moved to Brazil. It's a little bit cheaper. And
I think it's cool there.
I attend church there. Yeah. Okay.
We had this Q&A time with some pastors.
Yeah.
Right. And like the pastor issues there are very different than here. There's this cultish. I've heard it said before, but they always say it so fast. I really don't know. I need to like see it in print. I don't know what it's called.
Yeah.
It's the and I'm like
Right.
So anyway, but they're all in white.
Yep.
And they're off on the side of the road, off in the bushes somewhere, the brush, and they're extremely dedicated, not to Jesus, but to whatever it is they're dedicated to. Usually it's the guru guy that's leading it, and like, but they're there like through typhoons, like they don't leave. There's like extremely committed to their thing. And one of the pastors there was like, he says, my wife doesn't come to my church. And first I'm like, well, that's really rough. I think she's one of them.
Oh,
one of those people. I'm like, oh, that just went up a whole different level.
Yeah, right.
And he's like, what do I do? And I thought, well, I mean, what I said was, well, first of all, you can preach a lot of people to Jesus. We're walking around, preaching to people. We're talking to construction workers. I said, you will never be able to preach your wife to Jesus or your children. You can't preach your family to Jesus. You've got to be authentically a Christ follower at home. They see beyond your words.
Yep.
And anyway, we had that conversation, and I don't know if that was helpful to him or not.
Right.
But like, I don't know if I've ever talked to an American pastor who has something like that going on.
That's right.
Maybe my wife isn't as interested, or she likes to be, but
right. Not like she's a priestess in a different religion or something.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a different ball game for sure.
That's interesting. Or what kind of other things are like they dealing with pastorally that are different, or do you feel like are distinct?
Yeah. I mean, part of it is like distinctive to this particular mission is that they're working on a process of, we've been supporting them financially, all the pastors, for since the mission has been in existence for however many decades, and they're trying to wean them off and say it's time that you become self-supporting, and that your churches support you, and so we can plant more churches.
Yep.
And they're frightened. It's new, that part of that, it's new. Part of it is they're encouraging them that, well, maybe you can have a second type of job, a career where you can do both, whether it's raising livestock or we're going to help them, like invest, even like, hey, we'll buy you this machine to make peanut butter, then you can sell peanut butter, or
right.
that kind of thing.
A peanut butter making machine. That's great.
Yeah. There's all kinds of little things like that. They're working with little fish hatchery things and chicken coops and all these different little things to help the pastors. But it's like, you got to want to do that.
Yeah, right.
It's easy for me to say, well, why don't you just make peanut butter? Well, maybe I'm not a salesman,
Yeah, right.
Maybe that's not my thing,
Right.
So, well, we've got to figure out how to help them. So they're afraid. That's the point.
Yep.
And I tried to relieve them. Like, well, there's some things you can teach your congregation. I mean, in Scripture there are examples of people in extreme poverty even that were very generous, and part of the living in the kingdom is generosity, and so part of that's teaching your congregation what that means. You know? Not just to pay your salary, but to be generous people.
Yeah, right.
But part of that comes back and pays your salary. So
Yeah.
So things like that. It was on their hearts for sure.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. So, was there anything about this trip? Because this would be time 3, 4?
4 at least.
4, yeah.
Yeah.
So, anything that felt like unique or distinct in this trip to Zimbabwe compared to the other times that you were there?
It was much heavier emphasis on evangelism.
Mm-hmm.
That the revivals were evangelistic sermons, talking about the need to repent from sin and the fact that we have sin and the need to have that forgiven and so every sermon had that flavor to it. And they do the old school invitations, which churches do here too, but I haven't done it for 20 years,
Yeah.
like that. And so we had invitation songs at the end of each sermon, and people just poured forward every single time. We had people come forward to accept Christ, and there were baptisms going on. We went down to the river after the very first 2 sermons. We had a break. We had 13 people come forward, and I don't know if they were speaking amongst themselves in Shona, so I don't know what they were saying, and all of a sudden they said, all right, we're headed to the river. And I'm like, what?
They've negotiated a baptism.
We're what? Which was cool. And so all of a sudden we all take off, and we're, I don't know, it's a quarter mile or something to the river. Now, this is, okay, we planted a church 3 years ago.
Yep.
And there's a river between it. What we did was this first revival was at the mother church of that one. I thought I didn't know anything about them. I thought, well, let's go bless them.
Yeah.
Because we took some of their people, and it'll be kind of a cool thing. Because there's this river that's in the middle, and it's full of hippopotamuses and crocodiles, and the people literally actually die there, right? So they have the people from the 2 towns have to cross. But from the name's Checheche. Would have to cross in the Zangudza is where we were at that night.
What does Checheche mean?
I don't know. It's just the name of their town.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And so there were several months of the year they can't because the river's too high.
Yep.
And it's too dangerous. And so what was I saying there? That and point being that river's kind of dangerous.
Yeah.
And we're headed down there to do baptisms, and then it was just a cool thing to be a part of that. We were not equipped, like we spent the night there, so we didn't bring enough clothes. We didn't have all of our stuff with us, so we couldn't because I was hopefully going to be able to baptize some. That would have been kind of cool.
Yeah.
And it just didn't work out. And one of the other guys had asked one of our other preacher to baptize them, and it just didn't work. I mean, I was willing to go in my suit. I didn't care. I'd buy a new suit.
Yeah. Right.
Because but it was just. They had it all set up, so
yeah.
I didn't interfere, and I didn't want to be kind of the whole the Apostle Paul. Well, I'm just glad I didn't baptize in you guys,
right?
It's like nobody said, "Well, I was baptized by Paul."
You didn't want the Apollos.
We had the white guy baptize me.
That's right.
I also was not wanting that to be
senior ghost.
But that was cool seeing all that take place, and even when we were there, more people wanted to get baptized than had originally decided. It was just kind of a contagious spirit. They take the little djembe down to the water, and they start drumming and singing, and each time someone's baptized, and it's just really
were
cool.
they playing any of the 1980s Christian hits? Do you recognize these tunes?
At that point they didn't, but they would sing now I can't think. Some of the old hymns. They actually sing some of the old hymns, and I could sing along, in English.
Yeah.
Because I could tell, and the tune's just a hair different.
Yeah.
But I can tell it's the same one.
Yeah.
And the timing, syncopation's a little bit slightly different. So that's kind of cool. So yeah, it was very, very different that way. We went to 3 different churches. In the middle of the week, we did one out in the very rural area, and they same thing, had decisions for Christ. There's no water around there, so they planning and plotting a baptism on that, and then at some point after several hours, they said, well, you know what, you guys Americans, you're free to go to bed. I know they got a big day tomorrow, doing more VBS and everything. And we're gonna continue on. And I thought, okay, whatever. And so we left. It turns out they all night long they were singing and dancing and hooting and howling and beating those drums and praying and worshiping, literally all night long. And I don't know, it was probably 6 o'clock the next morning. They started dispersing to walk back to their homes, and where they had to go to work. Many had to work.
Yeah.
So because someone asked, well, they gotta go take a nap. Like, oh no, they don't have time. They can't. They gotta. They're whether their chores, whatever it is, their job is.
Right.
So they just were that pumped up and excited about everything.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's kind of humbling because like, I mean. Well, you know me. I'm just me. You know,
Yeah.
like it's just Ben. You know.
Yeah.
You know, right? I mean, we're just whatever. You know. But to think, this group was so excited that they couldn't sleep. And
Wow.
And they were dancing and
Yeah.
just a kind of an interesting. I like to observe church world, right? So we do 3 different churches. And different church. Every church has its own little personality.
Yep.
That's you can kind of figure that out if you've never figured that out. Think about it next time you go to a church. And it was cool to be even in a different culture, and I could see the different personality of these 3 African churches.
Yeah.
The different way they sing. They all had joy. They all were all full of smiles, but just a different flavor. The oldest church that we went to, you could tell the relationships were longer and stronger, and there was just this they start dancing, and then like it's almost like a jazz band, where like one of the instruments will sort of take off and do a solo,
Yeah.
and then back off, but it's kind of like that in dancing. One person will jump forward and they'll do a thing, then everybody starts doing what they're doing, and then they back off, then somebody else does some little foot move, and they all
Yeah.
start repeating it, and they were having fun with it and laughing and interacting in such a way. They were just so thrilled to be together. I thought, how cool is that?
Yeah. Right. Like it doesn't even feel like there's an equivalent in
No.
our culture for
No,
that.
nothing.
Yeah.
Nope. I mean, like I've been to cool worship experiences and stuff, and there's a few people that are doing whatever, raising hands and dancing or whatever, but it's nothing like this.
Yeah,
Nothing,
yeah.
Nothing. I mean, the place clears out and everybody comes forward and they're all dancing hard. And there's the church ladies. In this particular setting, they wear red, and it's their identity as their church. So anybody in the community says, "Oh, I know what church you go to."
Yeah.
I suppose like us wearing our church T-shirts or something.
Oh, right.
And like usually one will just stand up and start singing, and all of a sudden the others, they're all in harmony, right? They all start jumping in, and then the dancing, then somebody picks up a drum, and somebody might start blowing a whistle, or you just don't know, or doing the I
Right,
can't
right.
do it correctly. But it's a pure joy,
Right.
So that was like the one that'd been around the longest. The church plant we had 3 years ago, they were doing some of the same things, but you could tell the relationships weren't as long yet. They've only been a church for 3 years.
Yeah.
So they didn't have like decades of life together yet. So they're like little earlier on in the road. And then the middle one was like a mountain, the one that was all night long.
Yeah.
That was like up in the mountains. Poorer people, less educated people, so it just had a different flavor to it, but still the joy, still the excitement. Well, sang and danced all night long.
Yeah, right.
So it was just kind of cool to see the differences and have equal respect for all of them, and as they did for us. So
Yep.
that's cool. Yeah.
And so, just maybe as we round off, kind of your thoughts on it. How can folks in the States support and or pray for the what other Christians are going through, what God is doing in places like Zimbabwe?
Yeah, you can be personally involved. There's some great missions out there. Specifically, we have worked through Hippo Valley Christian Mission, and they have like a living proof program, they call it. They take the poorest of African children who also appear to have some potential. So they're smart, but they're extreme poverty. So the chances of them being educated are really low.
Yeah.
After 6th grade, they have to start paying it on their own, and so they call it living proof. It's $20 a month. You sponsor a child. And what that does is that buys their uniform. That's a big deal there, and their shoes, and make sure they're educated.
Yep.
But it also puts them part of this club that's in the school that's called the Living Proof Club, where they're learning scripture and songs and just learning about God.
Yep.
So which is really neat, because one of the people that came forward in that middle revival in the all-night place was a girl that my daughter sponsors, has been sponsoring for like 3 or 4 years.
Oh, no kidding.
And it was like so cool that it was after my sermon, and she was like 4 feet from me, and she stood up and had given her life to Christ. And I think yeah, sure, I had a sermon, everything, but it was all those little $20 a month that my daughter's been paying all these years that has been teaching her, and she's been learning about God. It just all clicked together at that moment. What that $20 does is also helps them when it'll help get them to college.
Yep.
I mean, it can literally change their world forever. And besides the Jesus part, so
Right.
you can do things like that. Because it's hard to like just, I'm going to pray for Kenya. Well, I don't even know what that means.
Right.
Okay, I hope they have food. I mean, you know,
Right.
so
Bless Kenya.
right. So what I like about this is we have actual personal relationships. Most churches have some connection somewhere in Africa, somewhere,
Yep.
or in other. You can contact the missionary of your local church and talk to the pastors or something that can connect you with someone. And with social media, we're in a third world country in absolute poverty places. They all had cell phones.
Oh, yeah.
And they have little solar panels that keep them charged.
The Obama phones got there too, Nathaniel.
Yep. And so I have I've had all kinds of conversations with African friends just on Facebook and WhatsApp, and I have to keep up going back and forth to see how people are talking to me. We've been back now a few days, and like this Sunday, 2 of the preachers sent me messages. No, 3 all 3 did, of just how their churches were just filled to the brim. This
Nice.
weekend. It's like it's still, so it's like we keep that relationship going. And
Yep.
anyway, yeah. So you can do it. You can take a little effort, but once you get it going, you'll be hard to stop it. So
Yeah.
It'll take care of itself. But
Yeah,
you gotta take some initiative.
I could totally see that. And I think, like, one of the things, if you think about, value, it feels odd to put it in the way they're going to put it, but, like, how much that your money buys or the opportunity that it provides, it cost me $130 to fill up my gas tank this last week, like, versus being able to help with probably multiple children's education for a month.
Yeah.
And uniform and whatever it is that they have to have. And so, like, in fact, as a matter of fact, like, my family gives to some things in Pakistan where it's the same thing. It's like very impoverished children, and like you have to start paying for your school and the uniform, and you got to have the uniform and everything. And like, it's $20. It's $20 a month or $40 a month or something, and like that's a kid's education.
Yep.
And like you'd lose that in the couch cushions over a year or something, and so. It's certainly, there's things. We are still in our own context. There's things to give money here, and it's not unvirtuous just because it's more expensive. It costs more to house a homeless guy in the United States than it does to house and upkeep someone somewhere else. And you can change a guy's life in Zimbabwe for what it costs to house a homeless guy in the United States.
Yeah.
You still give to the home, like we still figure out a way to help the homeless in the U.S. So like, I'm not saying that, but like, just recognizing of like how little of what we have so easily here can make a significant difference somewhere else. Like that's not governments redistributing wealth. That's God trying to balance and make sure that we are being thoughtful and caring for each other. And the world, to your point, social media actually helps recognize that the world is both bigger and smaller than what we realize.
Yeah. It can actually be kind of exhausting because I have so many people now that are, and every time I go, I make new friends, right?
Yep.
And so it's hard to kind of keep up with it all, but it's worth it. It really is. I mean, they're valuable human beings that like. Sometimes they're just saying hello.
Yeah, right.
How
Just
you
hi.
doing?
Yeah, I got that guy from who I interact with in Pakistan. Like, I love this man. He is just such a cool. He's so much better at things than I am. Like, he'll check up on me, and he asks about the church and asks about my family probably twice a month.
Yeah.
And like sometimes I don't get back to him for a week and a half, and I'm like, what am I too busy to do? This guy is taking time out of his day to just check up on me and pray, and like, it's just they're better at it.
Yep.
They're better at it. Okay, well, cool. Dan, thanks for sharing your Zimbabwe stories. I think
fun.
it's exciting. It's exciting, and I think there is a way. Like, there certainly is a way to be. There's a way to help. There's a way to be of help and to be encouraged, and like that changes how what happens when you come back. Like, you see the world just a little bit deeper or broader than maybe what you did over time.
Yep.
All right. Hey, you've been listening to Live from the Path. Hey, if you've had some interesting kind of stories about doing traveling work, mission work, even short-term mission stuff, I'd love to, be interested in hearing them. Maybe you've got some interesting things you want to share. If you want to give us a call or send us a text on the Live from the Path Bob Eisenhower complaint line, it's 515-517-0085. That's 515-517-0085. And I'd just love to hear your story. And I don't know if it's super interesting, and maybe we'll call you and you can tell it on the air, and the other 7 people who listen to the show can dig on that as well. We'd love to share it. All right, let's do some advice, and then we'll call this a day. You ready, Nathaniel?
Yes, sir.
Okay, dear Live from the Path. Mother-in-law's comments caught on doorbell camera. I recently made some unflattering comments about my daughter-in-law to my son. They were recorded on their Ring doorbell.
Wait, second to about the daughter-in-law to her son.
Yes.
Okay, got yeah.
So, like, standing on their front porch, mom looks to son and says something unflattering about the wife.
Your wife has big lips.
Ugh. And it was recorded by the Ring doorbell. Now she's angry with me and my son, and I'm not sure I will ever see the grandchildren again. Well, what the heck did you say?
Whoa. That just took a turn.
Wow. When I emailed her an apology, this is why Mike has to do this. She said she didn't know if she could ever forgive me. She will see my husband, but I am not allowed over there if she will be around. She will see my husband, see the grandpa.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I thought she was like, she will see her own husband. Like, well, yeah.
Her son. Yeah, okay. I did the same thing.
Any words of wisdom as to what to do? We've always helped them out with the children and sometimes financially. Oh, mercy. Should my husband tell her if I'm not welcome, then he feels the same way? Okay, that's tricky. I know he feels caught in the middle between me and the whole situation. What do you think, fellas? Okay, let's start with the wife, or start with the mom, grandmish, and then I want to get to the dude. What should the dude do? So let's start with the mom.
I don't know. Probably call her and apologize instead of just sending some lousy email. She's probably not gonna pick up the phone though, so kind of tough.
Yeah, I think she needs to take her out for dinner or coffee or something and say we need to have a face-to-face and grovel and just say I was completely wrong.
I was wrong. Yeah.
I mean, we all. Who hasn't thought something terrible about someone? And I said it out loud.
Yes, happens.
It was a weak moment.
Yeah. I would say face to face. Like, it would be a monumental amount of stubbornness for you to show up, like even like 2 or 3 times, and her to say no every time.
Yeah. I
think she's gonna relent. But she's making you pay for a little bit, and you might deserve that.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. One, that whatever it is you thought. 2, that you said it and it was recorded. 3, she seems to be going back watching these videotapes. That's weird. But either way, I mean, you got caught stealing cookies. You're just gonna have to cop to it. Like, I don't want to hear this. We've supported you financially, business. You shut your mouth on that. You don't bring it up. It's not your concern. You're just wrong. Be wrong wholly, in its entirety. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we're basically saying, look, you just got to own the whole thing, grovel, apologize, wait it out. I mean, I would give it quite a long time before you kind of cut ties. But even then, I wouldn't be angry about it. Like, maybe she's overreacting, but we wouldn't be in this position had you not started it. So I think you're gonna have to deal with that particular thing. All right, so now let's say it's not resolving easily. It's a rough go. What does the dad do? Does he say, hey man, if my wife's can't come, I won't come. I won't come see the kids either. What a weird spot to be in.
Oh, the dad as in the mom's husband.
Yes, yeah,
I was
dad,
thinking
grandpa,
the son. Okay.
Grampy daddy.
Well, I mean, yeah, you got to be unified in this thing. Yeah. There's just so many ways you can misuse the grandkids there, and
That is risky. It does seem risky.
yeah. And the son, I think the son needs to step up and say, "Here's the deal, guys. You guys need to figure this out.
Yeah.
We're family, and families say sometimes people hurt each other. This needs to get resolved.
Yeah.
We have a long years and years of bitterness if we don't get this figured out.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not the Grampy daddy's job to sort this out.
Yeah, he wasn't even there. He was bowling.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, I would. Yeah, this is the son's to work out. Now, let's. In the interim, I think it's. This gets trickier the longer it goes, but like I would say that if she won't allow, it's not a punishment for the dude not to show up. But he's like, if my wife's not invited, like, what am I supposed to do? Go like unless the mammy Grammy says, yeah, I want you to go and see the kids. But like, I think I would just say, look, I really regret that we're not welcome, and I would love to see this worked out as fast as possible because I miss my son and I miss you and I miss my grandkids, and so I want you guys to work that out. That's not a threat. You're not holding it against them. Like you've put this man in a rough position. He's not going to be able to make a choice that doesn't hurt somebody. That's not fair. And so he's not choosing his wife over his grandkids or his son. I think he's in solidarity, and this is how the situation needs to get resolved. And I think that's fair. I think it's all right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, but son. So son has to deal with the wife and the mom and say, look, you guys got to work this out. I will not let my kids be this, and this is not healthy for you, and we're not doing this. So you got to figure it out. Nathaniel, other advice?
Yeah, I mean, my question would be, why didn't he maybe take some action right there on the porch step?
Like slap his mom?
Well, I don't know. Just say, hey, Helga doesn't have that wide of hips, or whatever.
He should say, you keep my wife's name out of your lips. Wow.
I mean,
give him the old Will Smith.
Yeah, that's an option. I don't know if that would have helped. It might have helped his relationship with his wife.
Yeah, but not his mom. Yeah. And do you presume that like the son was agreeing or just not fight? He didn't say, I guess.
Yeah.
The son could have been passive about it because he doesn't want to pick a fight with his mom.
That's kind of how I read it. It's like, well, mom, take it easy.
Yeah, yeah.
But not being like,
I don't know, man. It's difficult, especially with older folk or people that who just don't handle the world right. Is that like, they say something kind of inflammatory, and you're like, what am I going to do here? Is this Custer's last stand, or am I just going to kind of, okay, yeah, and then just kind of move on? I mean, is it going to be worth the next 2 weeks of pain dealing with this rebuttal or what? I don't know. I don't know. It depends on who you are as a character. I feel like if I did that to my wife and kind of just let it go, she might be go like, yeah, that person's difficult to deal with. I understand. Yeah. But like if you're not used to protecting or defending your wife, and then someone's flipping the lip and you don't stand up for your wife, then maybe she's got a right to be mad.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a tough time putting myself in these situations, like, because it's like I try and put my own self in there, and there's just no way I could imagine my mother saying something inflammatory about my wife.
Right, it's more likely to be about you or something.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
I hear he likes the wrestling.
Yeah,
exactly. Actually, I said it out loud that wrestling is my love language at my mom's house too.
Yeah.
Nobody seems to take me seriously about it though. No one wants to wrestle me. I'm like grappling. I'm not trying to be weird about anything, but just like, getting in there.
I just want to light grapple with people. I'm gonna see you getting like accosted on the street. Someone's trying to steal your wallet. You're gonna be like wrestling with him. I'm like, stop loving that man.
I just happen to have my chair. I'm gonna hit you in the head.
Exactly.
All right. Secular says, you have learned the hard way that in our technological society, privacy is history. I do not feel it would be helpful to threaten your son and daughter-in-law by withholding your husband from interacting with them and the grandkids. What you should do is apologize again to your daughter-in-law for your critical and unkind comments, repeatedly if necessary, then hope she can find it in her heart to forgive you. Yeah, I mean, I disagree on that threaten thing. I just think that's you're representing that harshly for unnecessary reasons. Yeah. Okay. Here we go. Dear, live from the bath. I have been married for 32 years. Sorry, I've been married to my wife for 32 years. I love her dearly. Recently, though, her smoking has been really bothering me. Her father passed away from COPD 5 years ago because he was a lifetime smoker. Do people really pass away from COPD? I thought it's like just something. You probably died of like pneumonia or something. Okay, I don't know, but I don't care. I thought that would convince her to stop. She has tried, but she always goes back. She tries to cover it up by making frequent trips to the store and other places to get out of sight to smoke. So she's an amateur, is what you're telling me. It infuriates me that she would lie, but she doesn't seem to have a problem with it at all. It makes me wonder what else she's been lying about. Canned beef. She's serving you canned beef. My biggest concern, obviously, is that her health problems are increasing. Frequent colds. She blames allergies. Coughing while she sleeps, snoring terribly. We now sleep in separate beds at times just so I can get some sleep. When I bring up the subject of quitting, she gets defensive. Her mother will no longer talk to her about it, and she wants her to quit even more than I do. As my wife goes down this road, I'm becoming less attracted to her. We don't talk much anymore when we are by ourselves. We once went to a marriage counselor who agreed with me on the subject of quitting, but my wife blew it off. I'm near my limit and thinking of ending our marriage. How can I get through to her without a messy divorce?
Wow.
Again, that took a real turn, didn't it?
Yeah.
This is the love of my life. You will stop harming yourself in a way that is often difficult to kick, or I'm going to leave you.
The thing is, he can't talk her out of smoking any more than she can talk him out of chocolate chip cookies and French fries.
Yeah.
And they're both going to kill you. So
Yeah, that's
get
right.
over yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree. It'd be great if she'd stop.
Yeah.
But she has to want to. You can't will someone to lose weight. You can't will them to stop smoking. Anything like that.
Yep.
They've got to want it, and you can't whine them into it or nag them into it.
No, as a matter of fact, I think it almost puts it, it becomes something where you can be kind of their ever faithful encourager, and there's a line of which that moves to being adversarial, of which they are like they will straight up dodge you. Right?
Yeah.
Why? She's hiding it because of good nature. She's worried you're going to be disappointed in her, or she recognizes that she has a problem. She hates that she still has it.
Yeah.
And she doesn't want to have you look at her and think and talk about it again.
I mean, she knows. She knows.
Yeah.
She knows, but she can't stop.
Yes.
I got a buddy right now who is in hospice because of smoking.
Yeah.
And he knew it. He knew it at the time.
Yep.
10 years ago, he said, "I know it's going to get me." It's got him.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. And then there's just something about there's addictions like that, and it's just not easy to kick.
I ate popcorn tonight, and I put butter on microwave buttered popcorn. And at the time, I thought to myself, that's going to cause a heart attack.
Yeah.
I mean, that is stupid.
It should stop.
There's nothing smart about that.
Yeah.
I absolutely know that.
Still did it.
And I liked it.
Yeah. Yep.
And I'll do it again.
Yep. When I'm at my worst, I'll go to the gas station. I'm like, I'm just going to get some coffee. And as soon as I get some coffee, I'm like, this is a hot drink. I can't drink a hot drink all day. I'm going to need some kind of cold drink to get it. So I got to buy something else to balance it out. And I'm like, boy, there's a lot of liquid here. Going to need a donut or something. It's ridiculous.
I need to absorb some of this.
It's ridiculous. And you know what? I can solve this.
And we know better.
I can put those two things back.
Yeah, right.
And then just stick with the coffee. But I don't know how many times, again, at my worst, I've walked out with 4 or 5 things and it was completely unnecessary. Yeah. Really unnecessary. Yeah. Here's the thing. People are quirky like this. Like, if it were as easy as, okay, I'm gonna peel back the curtain here. My wife actually doesn't work this way. If she says she doesn't want to do something, she will just not do it. Like, her mind totally works that way. And I know very, very few people who can do that. Now, Dan, you're kind of like that in some things. There's some things where, if you just got you set your mind on something, it's just, that's what it is. And it doesn't, I've seen that in you.
Uh-huh.
And but it's not most people, and it certainly isn't most people in like broadly. Like there tends to be something. And like it is the hardest thing. I'm known to all kinds of peculiarities in my life. And like interacting with my wife who just simply does not understand it. She does not understand me. I like we've had interesting conversations around like, I don't know, I was going like I'll buy coffee when I'm out. And this is like gas. This is not even Starbucks. This is like I got gas station coffee because I was out. And I was going to be out for like 2 or 3 hours. And so I thought, well, I'll just get a coffee. And like the conversation was around, she's like, well, what are you spending our money on coffee for? Couldn't you drink coffee at home? I'm like, well, I'm not home. Well, can't you just wait? I said, I probably could. But it was like a couple of bucks worth of coffee. And she's like you should just have it every once in a while. And I'm like, I know where we're going to have a break here. I said, what do you mean by every once in a while? And like in my mind, I'm thinking like, okay, maybe 2 days a week or something. Like don't keep it easy. $2, just take it easy. What she meant was like once a month.
Yeah.
That's once in a while in her mind. Because if she's thirsty when she's out and about or something, she will go through a drive-through and get a free water and not buy anything else. I won't pee somewhere without buying something.
Yeah, right. Me too.
Feels weird about it.
I feel like I'm stealing your water.
That's right. And like they don't care.
Yeah.
But like I don't know. But it's just an odd. I bring my wife up as an example because like I look at this. I look at the smoker and I'm like, I get it. I mean, and like I'm not as likely to lay so like. It feels it's if you look at it purely logically, these addictions are selfish. They like if you just ignore the fact that there's a human dealing with it, there's a choice, and it feels like, I mean, have you taken every possible precaution? You stop buying cigarettes. You call a man every time you walk in the store, make sure you don't walk out with any cigarettes. Like, do I have like whatever I spend at the gas station, $8 or something? Like, okay, we could use that $8 elsewhere. And so, like, there was something this was just me, only benefited me, actually probably harmed me, health-wise, dollar-wise, and I still chose it and I still did it. And my wife hates that. I'm okay, I get it. I get the perspective. But, like, humans are more complicated than that. Like, most humans in some way or another just have a hard time keeping with something or making, like, it's not like they don't understand the logic behind it. They just go, yeah, but I'm gonna do it right now. Like, I'm still gonna do that right now.
Like it.
I'm just gonna keep doing it for like 10 years. Like,
I'll stop tomorrow.
Right? And so, like, I without dialing back the reality that says, like, if you keep doing that, those things are going to kill you.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it's still sad that it's true that they are. But like the reality. But here's the thing: you can't live your whole life as if that your whole relationship is your disappointment in that.
Yeah.
I just it lacks, even if it's logical, it lacks grace, and it lacks a little bit of human grayness that I think exists in people. Which there's a line of which how do you become an encourager to that person without becoming their adversary? Where they don't start looking at every interaction with you of I hope they don't bring up my smoking, because like, is that really I know that it's top of your mind as the person who's worried about them smoking, but like, that's really all they were to you? Like, that's their whole value as to whether they're a smoker or not? And, like, I know because you love everything else about them, you're trying to protect this piece, but, like, you're going to miss out on the next X years alive just focusing on that. And so it's frustrating, especially if you feel like someone's destroying themselves in front of you, like harming themselves, and you want something better for them. But, like, you're going to have, unless you want to blow that relationship, and this divorce thing would be you. That's not on them. That's on you. I just find a way to keep being the encouraging voice in the right direction and not the adversary on the other side of it, even though your adversarial reaction is simply because you love them and it's important to you. I know. But like, I don't know. There's a way to do it. It's just a hard thing to do. Nathaniel, you ever had, like, would you say, are you a guy who's like, easily, like, if you say no to something, you can just stay away from it, or are you prone to being drawn back in?
Oh, I'm super prone. I have a very addictive personality, where there's probably things that I'm glad that I have not done in my life, because I would succumb to them. Yeah. Very easily.
Yeah.
Yep.
I never did cigarettes because I thought, one, they looked expensive to me, and I can't. I tried once and I couldn't do it. Like, I tried to. And I wasn't doing it right. I did not have the effect you were supposed to. But then I thought, like, of all the things to be addicted to, how about a sweet, sweet soda?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, that one got me good. Is the soda. and the energy drinks,
Yeah.
caffeine in general.
I don't do the energy drinks.
Well, I think the caffeine really got me when I started working night shift for a few years,
Yeah.
and then I just eventually you ramp up, and then you wake up and you're doing a gram of caffeine a day,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's just not good.
Okay, you're dropping a dime on a Monster. You say, I just can't. It's how I live.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you tried to kick caffeine?
Yeah, and I'll go like a couple of days, and it's
2 days?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. I was traveling to California for vacation this last year, and I didn't get any coffee or whatever at the airport because I'm not paying $5 for a coffee.
Okay.
That's outrageous.
Yep.
And then I got like a day and a half in, and I was like, man, I've got this crazy headache, and I realized that it's because I had not had any caffeine, and I thought to myself, this is bad. that like I am this addicted to a substance.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's not just caffeine; it's also sweets and
Sugars.
and,
Yeah.
Food and Taco Bell.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, and. Yeah, so I can, and then you get the mindset where you think to yourself, well, I've screwed up before, and I know for sure I'm going to screw up again, so why not screw up now?
What does it matter?
Exactly. And I'm sure that's gone through this lady's mind. I've tried quitting before, and I've always gone back to smoking.
Yep.
And so like, why quit again? And you should obviously no one wants to feel like a failure,
No, right.
especially to the person that you're closest to.
I know it.
There's been several times where my wife says, "Hey, how's that fresh diet going?" And I really don't want to fess up and say, "Hey, yeah, I had 8 cookies for lunch, and that was it." But I have to. I say, yeah, not good. Not good. I know I started yesterday, but I'm 1,500 calories over.
Yeah. I don't like. I've struggled with exercising, like trying to do. I sit down all day. Like I work on an office job. I sit on my brains just typing away, And so like I really need to be out moving, and so that I don't get 10, 20 years down the line and like my body's like, dude, we don't know how to do anything else. You should sit back down. And so, but like the level of which I think I can commit to, like the thought of exercising even like 5-6 days a week for the rest of my life feels like a prison sentence to me.
Yeah.
It just feels like you said, your life is going to suck from here on out. Because every day there's just going to be a big red dot on the calendar that says you got to go do jumping jacks and walk around and lift weights for 45 minutes or something for it to even matter.
Yeah.
Like you got to sweat enough to take a shower, and you got to lift something so that you're tired and you feel a little bit like junky afterwards. I don't get invigorated. Some people like go pump the iron. They feel like I'm ready for the day. I think, boy, I'm glad that's freaking over. I hate it. Like I just don't like it. And like again, sorry, this is Ben's counseling time. But like my wife is awesome at this. She goes, we should be exercising, and she starts doing it. And not only should she do the one, but she go, I'm going to do an extra one, focusing on abs. And she'll do another 10 minutes. She'll be up till like 1 in the morning if it takes it. Like anything past 9 o'clock, and we're like, well, we still need to get the workout again. I'm like, don't we think that ship has sailed though? It's 9 o'clock. I think that we're done with that. It's got to be 12:30 before my wife would say, and I've seen her work out at 1 in the morning where she's like, I just feel like I got to do it. Like there's things I very much admire about this woman that are not in me at all. Yeah. But like, but then when I look forward, if I look at the next 30 years and go, boy, this just looks terrible, and I say, look, I think I can do 3 days a week or something. I'm gonna try to target that, and I just see it in my wife. She's like, yeah, that would be good. But in the back of her mind, she's like, you're gonna die a slow death if it's not 5. And like, it's for my good. But there's just something. There's all kinds of things that are for my good that I just cannot.
Yeah.
I can't get my mind wrapped. I wish I felt better out of it. I wish my energy, just like I'm sure there's all kinds of smokers who are out there who are like, I wish I woke up this morning and go, I've got every ounce of energy to fight that stick. I'm not picking it up. Or for you to go, I'm willing to sit out this headache, and I'm not going to touch caffeine for 2 weeks. I'm going to water flush. I'm going to pee 1,000,000 times. I'm going to try to get this caffeine stuff off my brain. But like, it's just harder. And that's not even a hard substance. Now think of people who are dealing with like hardcore porn addictions, hardcore drug addictions. alcohol, especially like when those things are tied to emotions. Like my exercise stuff is just like I think I'm gonna be. I don't want to not be able to get around when I'm older and play with grandkids and stuff. But like, a lot of people's like addictions are tied to like really rough experiences or hard emotional things, and like then the two start to be symbiote. You know, like now alcohol is related to your ability to like get past horrific option A. Or like you started taking drugs because you felt so junky about yourself, and it was a way to get out of it. And so now every time you have that same emotional feeling, your body goes, remember that one thing that was better? You should do that, because your body betrays you. And so like, what a double layer. I've got a lot of like there is still an ownership of those things. Like you got to own your addiction. But to Dan, to your point, like you have to want it. It is hard work.
Yep.
It is not easy for someone like, hey, can't you just not take meth today? Well, yeah, I wish it was that easy, friend. It is that easy. You just have to not do it, but like it's not near that easy.
Yeah.
You're fighting something. So anyway, I have sympathy here. It doesn't mean like the ultimate things are not difficult, but like so back to long rambling advice to this feller is don't divorce. This is a terrible reason to divorce your wife. This is terrible. This is not the only reason you married her. I understand why you care about it. The deceit thing, I would be careful. Like, she shouldn't be hiding it from you, but what do you want her to do? Smoke in your face? Like, yeah, but like also I want you to consider what it looks like to be married to you, how often you're bringing this up. And if you're kind of forcing her for any sense of peace in her life to allow her to probably feel like crap driving to the store or around the block or whatever she's doing, smoking. But now she has to feel like to do it away from you because she just can't handle you mentioning it again and making it a thing all the time. And so if it's not the main thing in your marriage, which it shouldn't be, make sure you're not giving it the attention that makes it feel like it's the main thing in your marriage. And I sympathize with the guy because it's hard because you think this woman's harming herself and I love her. But don't take it so personal. It's not about you. It's about them and they need your help. Not like, oh, they're doing this to me. Most people aren't thinking that far ahead, to be honest with you.
Right.
They're more selfish than that. They're not like, take that, puff, puff. Like, they're not, that's not what they're doing.
Yeah.
Okay. And sorry, anybody else got any advice? Like, this aggressive, antagonistic smoking? Actually, I do find, okay, check this out. I find I'm in an unhealthy relationship with my garbage man. Like, his name's Donnie. He runs Donnie's Waste Service out in my country area. Sure. And like, I do feel like whenever I take the garbage out and he picks it up, I feel like I won that week. Have I said this out loud? I'm like, take that, Donnie. But then when I forget to get it out to the curb, I feel like he's laughing, driving by. I'm like, take that, Ben. And he had to drive by there anyway. He's not actually up anything. I didn't gain anything. Yeah. But like, I feel unnecessarily antagonistic towards Donnie with my garbage. In fact, it goes out tonight.
Aren't you paying him?
I know. That's why I've oriented the wrong way. But yeah. I'm not taking advantage of him. I'm only getting the service I paid for. But I do set it out there, and I hear the garbage truck go by. And if I remember to put it out, I'm like, take that, Donnie. It's wrong.
Do you forget to take out the trash
all the time?
You kind of live out in the sticks.
Yeah.
You don't see other people on your block
taking
out the trash.
Nope, they do not. It does not happen. If I don't remember to do it, like I won't see another trash can for 2 miles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be lost without the other trash cans.
And the problem is that like since I work from home, it's not like I go outside during the morning. Like I head out I work in a shed, and so I don't walk towards the road. And so I may not be out there actually I may not be out there at all. And I only know it because I'm on some kind of conference call and I could hear old Donnie coming up the road there, and I can hear him a mile out, but I cannot run fast enough to get this thing into the road. And so I know he's feeling smug about it. That's all. Yeah. Anyway, I'm thinking about it right now.
You just imagine you. Hey, I gotta get off this call.
I gotta go.
AFK real quick.
Yeah, shut up, Donnie. I have with the weeks that we don't. I do it when I'll take the garbage out when I get home from the show. You know, it's like now for some reason the loudest sound in the world are the wheels of that stupid garbage can. Yeah. It could be 1 a.m. getting home from the show and I'm like dragging it across gravel out into the road. Everybody in the house is up. But like if we don't have a show, which we didn't for the last couple weeks, like that's when I'm most prone to forget because I'm not out there at 1 a.m. Like, but when you're pulling in from the show, I got nothing else to think about. I'm like, oh yeah, garbage. Yeah, I got it. Okay, sorry. Advice. Here we go. Secular says, by now it should be obvious that your wife is displaying classic symptoms of an addict. This is something she may have inherited from her father. Why are we saying that?
Or nicotine.
Yeah, she has, or her grandpa, or her cousin Stan. She has a serious medical and possibly psychological problem because she cannot quit on her own. If she's even interested in doing so, which I doubt, why are you saying this? She will need professional help. Nicotine patches and gum could aid in her cutting back, but a psychological component will still need to be addressed. Interestingly, you didn't mention the effect, besides revulsion, her secondhand smoke is having on you. This is something you should address with your doctor. Once you've done that, offer your wife the option of treatment. However, if she refuses, you'll have to decide whether to consult a lawyer. Well, yeah,
Wow. That's extreme.
Doesn't it feel extreme? And then secondly, she didn't give advice. She just said, yeah, what you said. You'll have to think about it. Like, what?
She needs counseling. She smokes. Like, what?
Do people still do the smoking hypnotists? Is that still a thing?
I
You
think
remember those guys?
Yeah.
They used to
Yeah.
show up on the radio. Do you not want to smoke anymore?
Yes.
Yeah, you remember that guy?
Yeah.
Is that still a thing?
I don't think. Yeah. Well, no, I would assume so.
I would guess.
Yeah.
I haven't seen one in a while.
Would you
Maybe I
think?
don't listen to the radio that much.
Hey, man, you think we could do one for gas stations and Taco Bells? We could bring a dude in here to Here's the deal. This feels like doing mushrooms. I don't like guy jacking with my conscious states. Like he might convince me my name is like Shannon or something, and then put me in a real pickle. But so every time someone says, "Hey, Shannon," I can't help it. I'm like, well, yes, how can I help you? But I wonder if they do that for like food and
I've heard
financial.
that before. Food.
Yeah.
And I wonder if there's any Christian guys doing it. Can I find a Christian food hypnotist? That's my question.
Is that kind of like a new age thing?
I don't know.
It gets into spiritual things.
That's what wigs me out, right?
Always
Like
stay
there's.
away from that stuff.
I'm kind of interested in people in like Christians who are doing some of this kind of work, like Eastern medicine-ish stuff and hypnotism and stuff. Like I don't know if that's witchcrackery or just you're opening up things that the Lord has put in there and you're just kind of finding them.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay. All right.
Sounds
I think
like a Google search waiting to happen.
Yeah. And that's gonna start. He's gonna come to my house. He's like, I knew you were thinking about me, Ben. My friend Donnie told me to come find you. All right. This has been enough. Thank you for listening to Live from the Path. We really appreciate it. If you want to get a hold of us, you can do so at the Live from the Path Bob Eisler complaint line, 515-517-0085. I said that number probably 1,000 times. I still don't remember it. I have it pasted in front of me because I will forget. 515-517-0085. Also, 'tis the season for podcast review leaving. If you've got, maybe you really love the show and you want to give it the old 5 stars, 2 thumbs ups, or whatever you do, just do that on whatever podcast app is, and then you can leave a comment. Say, this particular show was randy dandy. And if you didn't like it, you can say that too. You should. This is what's a name that you could use that's the opposite of randy dandy? This is a disappointing Daryl.
Yeah.
I did that. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, if it's a disappointing Daryl, you can say that too. That's fine. But I think that's all we got. I'm going to leave it to you, and we will see you next week. In the meantime, be faithful in the means. God will handle the ends. You've been listening to Live from the Path.